today's date, February 5th. We're meeting for a special meeting at 4 o'clock. Can we, actually, I'm going to ask Councilmember Resendez to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Ready, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you for that. Can we do roll call vote, please? I'm sorry, roll call. Thank you.
Supervisor Ignacio Velasquez,
Here.
Chair Roxanne Stevens,
Here.
Councilmember Roland Resendez,
Here.
and then Councilmember Scott Friels,
Here.
and Colin Kosmicki is on Zoom.
Yeah, I'm here, and just take note that I am doing the meeting remotely because I am under the weather, and I have nobody under the age of 18 in the room.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for being willing to participate via Zoom, Supervisor Kosmicki. We appreciate it. And just as an FYI, because we have somebody on Zoom, we will be doing every vote on roll call vote, okay? Okay, just as an FYI. Okay, can we get verification of agenda posting?
I'll move for the approval of the verification of agenda posting.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Roll call vote?
We have Ignacio Velasquez,
Yes.
Colin Kosmicki,
Yes.
Roxanne Stevens,
Yes.
Roland Resendez,
Yes.
Scott Friels,
Yes.
Okay, thanks for that. And then we're going to move on to approval of minutes. Anybody have any questions, any comments, any changes to the minutes? Okay, not seeing any. Can I get a motion to approve?
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
All in favor, roll call vote?
so we have Roxanne Stevens,
Yes.
Roland Resendez,
Yes.
Ignacio Velasquez,
Yes.
Colin Kosmicki,
Yes.
Scott Friels,
Yes.
Okay, so let's move on to the next portion, the public input for items out on the agenda. So let me just remind everybody that this is a time for anyone in the audience, virtual or in person, to speak on any item that is not on the agenda but within the subject matter jurisdiction of this committee. Speaker cards are available in the lobby and are to be completed and given to staff before speaking. When the minutes clerk calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and city for the record, and speak to the committee. If you are joining us by Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise your hand. If you are joining us by Zoom, please click on the bottom of your screen to raise, if you're joining us by Zoom, please raise your hand. If you are joining us by Zoom using a cell phone, please press asterisk and 9. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Please note that state law prohibits the committee from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
there are no speakers.
Okay, thank you. So let's move on to committee business. So we'll start with 7.1, selection of the chair and vice chair for calendar year 2026, recommended action. The committee elects a chair and vice chair for calendar year 2026.
I'd like to nominate Mayor Stevens for another term as chair.
And I'll second.
Okay, can we get a roll call vote?
Velasquez,
Yes.
Resendez,
Yes.
Friels,
Yes.
Kosmicki,
Yes.
And Chair Stevens?
Yes. Okay, well, thank you. And then I just want to, before we go into vice chair, our vice chair is Mayor Leslie Jordan, and the chief reminded me before the meeting that we are prohibited from serving for more than 2 consecutive years. So Mayor Leslie Jordan has completed 2 years. So I want to thank her for being the vice chair for this last year, and then move on for a nomination for vice chair. So we'll need a new person for that.
I'll nominate Supervisor Colin Kosmicki for vice chair.
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote.
So, Velasquez?
Yes.
Resendez?
Yes.
Friels?
Yes.
Kosmicki?
Yes.
And Chair Stevens?
Yes. Okay, so thank you Supervisor Kosmicki for accepting that. You will be the new vice chair. Thanks for that. So let's move on to 7.2, Fire Protection Advisory Committee Bylaw Amendment. Recommended action, approve an amendment to the Fire Protection Advisory Committee bylaws to establish a regular meeting schedule of quarterly meetings on the first Thursday of the month, in February, May, August, and November at 4 o'clock. So I'm going to turn it over to the chief to give a brief report.
It'll be very brief because I think you covered most of it, but we introduced at the last Fire Protection Advisory Committee meeting the change. So the main change is the time change from 9 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and then going from bi-monthly to quarterly. And this will be the final vote for approval.
Okay, thanks. Do we have any questions or comments from the dais?
No comments? I'll make a motion to
Wait,
approve.
I think I have to do public comment first, right?
Yeah.
Do we have any public comment?
public
Okay, okay. So
I'll
then
make
I
a
will
motion
come
to
back.
approve.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Velasquez?
Yes.
Resendez?
Yes.
Friels?
Yep.
Kosmicki?
Yes.
And Chair Stevens?
Yes. Okay, good. So we will have those then on our calendar. And just a reminder on this item, if any member of the committee or the chief think that we need to have another meeting, we can always schedule, we need a more frequent meeting, we need to meet for a matter that can't wait the whole quarter, that we can always schedule a special. So we'll just all keep that in mind, that although we've just voted to have this meeting be quarterly, that we do have that option of scheduling special meetings for any issue that needs quicker attention or that can't wait for the next meeting. Okay. Okay, so we're going to move on to item 7.3, feasibility study discussion. Again, I'm turning this over to the chief for a quick report.
Okay, excuse me, I'm going to provide a very brief update today on the Baker Tilly feasibility study. I do have Andy Belknap is on Zoom if you have any questions for him. But as you know, the study examines several key issues, including the governance, service levels, staffing, operational costs, response time, legal authority, and potential funding mechanisms of a fire district. At the last meeting, we did review an updated projected timeline. And in that timeline, the months of December through March were dedicated to gathering information. To date, most of the required information has already been submitted. However, in conversations with City Manager Colick, we discussed having a follow-up meeting in the coming days with Baker Tilly to ensure that they have received all the data that they need from all 3 of the jurisdictions to get things started. But we're still in that data collection phase. Then the analysis phase was scheduled to start in February, so it would have just started through April, which included conducting interviews with elected officials and agency leadership, completing detailed financial operational analysis, preparing and presenting feasibility findings and options between April and June, and then potentially providing implementation support beginning in June, depending on what the status of the feasibility study is and the direction of the board. over the coming weeks, Baker Tilly is going to continue to gather information. They'll also be conducting stakeholder interviews. We did receive a list of those people that they are looking to interview, which includes the members of this panel. I did have some questions about who they're interviewing, so I sent some stuff back, but Roy Morales from San Juan Bautista and myself are going to be starting to get them contact information for the people they're trying to interview, and they're going to be reaching out in the coming weeks to start scheduling interviews, as well as Mr. Belknap is going to be coming here, doing some site survey, probably on like in-person interviews as well. And that's kind of where we are, the status right now. There's not a whole lot to update since the last one because we're just finishing that data collection phase. With that, I'm available for questions. City Manager Colick is available for questions, and Mr. Belknap is available if you have any questions.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So any questions from the dais? Okay, go ahead. Mr. Frills, did you have a question or comment? I'll start with you. Okay, Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So you said you had questions for who they were interviewing. So what were those questions about? And I'm assuming they're directed to the contractor?
Yeah, it was directed to Mr. Belknap and his crew. There was a request of personnel on there. However, on their initial request, and I don't know if it was supposed to be in a different one, there was no Hollister Fire personnel listed to interview. So I'm assuming that was either just a foregone conclusion or it's a separate list, and that was what I was seeking clarification. There was also, I requested, they asked for one point of contact for CAL FIRE. I made a recommendation that they talk to the 3 operational BCs because they would all have a little bit different input. And then they asked for a member from the Sheriff's Department, but didn't include Hollister PD, which I felt if they're going to be getting a law enforcement perspective, they should get both Hollister PD and the Sheriff's Department. And the last thing is they asked for the non-sworn public safety supervisors for each jurisdiction. So I was asking for clarification if that was speaking to Ms. Mangano or Mr. Morales, or if there was somebody else they had in mind so that we could make sure that we got them the right people.
Sorry, Mr. Belknap, do you want to speak to that?
Oh, those are all very well taken comments, which we heartily agree with. And I will be doing a number of those interviews in person, on site, including talking to the members of the committee coming up here during the month of February.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Aranda, do you have any questions or comments?
No questions or comments.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah, did I hear the city managers and CEO of the county in that list?
They are in the list. I just was highlighting the things that I felt were
Okay.
missing from the list.
Okay. I guess the question I would have is, because we have a very limited window here, are we proceeding with the financial questions or the jurisdictions, the areas that LAFCO has to deal with earlier, or is that coming down later because of the time constraints?
Right now, we're looking at responses and financial information. Right now.
But you feel that with the timeline, we can still bring this all back in time to put
Yes.
on to the time period we need?
We are comfortable with the timeline that the chief went over. Excuse me.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Chief.
I was going to say, I think we have Jennifer Stevenson from LAFCO, but I believe from my conversations with her, we would have had to have had our application, in order to hit the November ballot, we would have had to have our LAFCO application in by February. And I don't think that there's going to be time to get through the data in order to get the stuff we need for a LAFCO application in time to make the November ballot.
Sure.
That's correct.
Sure. So if I can remind everyone, this was one of the most important parts we discussed about what we needed to do to make sure that would happen. So now I'm hearing, oh, well, it's not going to happen. So what are we doing then?
So
What's the point of it all?
Well, we that doesn't mean we can't still move forward with a feasibility study, but I've been bringing all along that we had to meet this February deadline. That was clear from LAFCO from the beginning. And because of the delay in the starting of the project, we ended up not being able to make that timeline.
So my point is, if we're not going to make the timeline, we're not going to have it on the ballot in November. 2 years would pass before we could talk about it again. The situation changes in 2 years. So we're going to have to go back and do another updated study to make that happen. So I got to say, I'm extremely disappointed in what I'm hearing right now. And I'm going to question why are we doing this if we're not going to make that election period? Because we're going to need updated information. If we're going to do this, we need updated information. We're going to have a 2-year gap here.
I don't disagree that we might have to bring updated information, but at this point, we don't even know for sure if a fire district is the route we would go. And there is always a potential of a special election, not saying that necessarily just for this, but if there's a special election, we could put it on there. But if we don't do it now, and then we try and align, if we hit any snags in the future, we may run into the same issue again. But the pausing of the feasibility study was out of my control. It was this board that paused the feasibility study. I did announce at multiple meetings that the February date was the time frame that LAFCO told us that we had to have this application in by. And I don't control getting that information from Baker Tilly, but it was the delay in starting it is why I don't have the information. And I can't create the LAFCO application without the information that's coming from Baker Tilly.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Supervisor Kosmicki, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Madam Chair, thanks. Yeah, I just had, being on LAFCO, I'm just wondering if Jennifer can explain sort of the this February concept, and is it a matter of having a monthly schedule, or is it you have to have this sort of thing done with X amount of time for processing by some other independent, party, whether it's elections or whoever it might be? Is that, can Jennifer maybe explain that a little further? Because if it's just a matter of how many meetings we have to hold at LAFCO, then we could certainly hold special meetings to make sure that we met whatever sort of deadline we needed to meet.
There's a couple of things. Certainly I can walk through the process. I received the application, and then we need review by the surveyor of the map to ensure that it's accurate and doesn't have any separated parcels. And then on top of that, we send out for agency comment by any affected agencies in the county. Once that's done, we also send it to the county for property tax sharing negotiation process. In this case, it's the formation of a new district, so that does not necessarily have to happen, but it has been part of the process in other counties. But if you already have some kind of agreement in place as part of the resolution that you'll be adopting, then that part could be minimized. Then I need a 21-day notification period prior to a public hearing to be held. The hearing would have to be no later than June because typically the county elections office has a July cutoff date for calling of an election. So in June, if it were approved by LAFCO, we send it back to the county board of supervisors to call the election on a couple of different questions. One being composition, should the new district be formed, composition of the new board, and then passing any additional funding mechanism that they would be asked to approve. In any case, all of those need to meet some kind of early July deadline. I don't know the exact date this year. So that's why the need for the February cutoff in order to get it completed by June.
Is there any possibility of, I thought it was August, maybe I'm wrong on that. I thought the elections cutoff was August. Again, maybe I'm wrong. instead of July. But is there any possibility of doing any of this, coinciding timeframes as opposed to, one piece at a time to extend that deadline out a little bit?
I mean, certainly we could squish it a little bit further, but we're talking about I would need an application by next month. Is that going to happen?
Got it. Yeah, I got you. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think this is just part of the, I think this is just a consequence of how the process went, and so I am. It's not ideal, obviously, to have to wait until another election, whether that's a special election or ideally a special election that is being called for another reason that we can tack on to. But if we have to update the information, then so be it. We're just going to have to update the information a year from now or whenever that is. Again, it's not ideal, but that's the situation that we're in. Thanks.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, and I'll recognize you in a bit, Councilmember Resendez. I mean, that was my thoughts too, Supervisor Kozmicki. Thank you for that. I mean, so first of all, Jennifer, I'm just gonna ask that if there is any way, and I think I'm just gonna use your words to squish this through, then I'm gonna just ask that you please just do everything in your power to squish this through, so we can save any time. And then the piece that you said about the county assessor's piece of it being something that we could maybe skip. I mean, I think if there is a step that we can bypass for whatever reason, I wasn't sure that I fully understood the reasoning behind that, but if that is a step that we can skip, then I think we should just do that and try to get this through as quick as possible. Nevertheless, wherever we land, I think that there will be a special election. There will be some other opportunity. I don't know that we would necessarily have to wait until the next presidential election or even a full year. But I think we would be prepared if a special election is called for any other reason to just tack onto that. So I think I'm kind of thinking we just pull through anyway. So that's my thoughts. Councilmember Resendez, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, I disagree with both of you respectively. I was told by staff that this was going to be a brief meeting, but if something of this magnitude was not reported to the board up here, I mean, this is pretty critical. Well, I'll call you on you in a minute. So just keep in mind, Mr. Consultant, what are your thoughts about this? And when we ask for something to be done by the people who work for the city council, who we represent the community, because this is an unsustainable model. We cannot continue to move forward. So we need to find out how we can get this done. So I'd like to hear from the consultant, please, on what your thoughts in, if you can weigh in on this, and what can we do to get that deadline done. What has your experience been like in other jurisdictions, if you have any that you've worked with before? And what are your thoughts and weigh in? This should have been talked about beforehand, I'll be quite honest with you, and is a huge surprise. Because I think the only way to get this fire district through is if we all work together. And I think that it would be ideal to do that during a general election, not during a special election. And it's going to cost the taxpaying citizens a ton of money on top of that. So I'd like to hear more from the consultant. I'd like to hear more from LAFCO, and then we can hear from you, Mr. Fire Chief, if that's okay. Thank you.
Well, my thoughts on it are this is a very consequential change. And it will take time, because when doing something like this, and I have been involved in the creation of districts and governance changes involving fire districts in particular, and it takes time. It can take years, because the underlying local governments will all need to agree here. I think that's going to, I assume the underlying local governments will need to reach agreement. That will take some time. And because there will be financial impacts. So we all need to realize that a change of this magnitude will take some time. So, and I don't think all that much will change in a couple of years, even if it takes a couple of years, because the numbers that we will lay out there will, yes, there could be some changes, but there won't be huge orders of magnitude changes. So the study will have a good lifespan to it. It will talk about governance, it will talk about finances, it will talk about responses and things like that will not change a great deal if you have to wait some time. It will lay out the pros and cons of forming a new district, and it will have a good lifespan. You'll have the time you need to discuss it in the region, and all the local governments, I am quite sure, will want to weigh in on this because creating a new district is a big step, and I anticipate it will take some time. So my advice would be, it will take some time. It's not the kind of thing that you can rush because that's.
Thank you. Time is money, and the money that's being spent is on the city of Hollister's. I believe it's in our hands. Ms. Lafco, I'm sorry, I haven't had a chance to meet you.
It's Jennifer.
Jennifer,
Stevenson.
after hearing my thoughts, what are you willing to weigh in on this?
Just that LAFCO is bound by the law as far as how much we can condense the process. So it's not really in our hands as far as how much we can push it forward. Like I said, ideally we would have an application now and it would be completed and considered by June, but that would require all of the agencies to have been on board and already negotiated an agreement as to what this new district looks like, because that's the resolution you'll have to each adopt to compile the application. And you're not even in that place yet. So I would say it's just certainly not feasible right now. Even though I could condense the process maybe by another month, I don't think that 1 month will offer you the time that you need to get in that position. So certainly LAFCO supports efficiency of service and will do what it can to support the process and make it as condensed as possible moving forward.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. And then, Mr. Fire Chief, given the thoughts and the conversation that you've heard up here, how pressing of an issue this is, I believe that you have consensus of all the surrounding jurisdictions here. Who's responsible for ensuring, aside from this, which staff is responsible for ensuring this application meets the deadlines, and what are your thoughts moving forward?
So I want to clarify something real quick. I have been very clear at the past several meetings about this February date. Ms. Stevenson has reiterated in past meetings that this February date was critical. And so I need the information from Baker Tilly in order for me and my staff to be able to process the application. It is a very extensive application, as has been explained to me by Mrs. Stevenson. So if we're trying to expedite this, it's going to probably take additional staff from the city to help me get through some of these things, because there's a lot of parcel descriptions. My understanding, and talking a couple months back with Jennifer about this, was there's a lot of detailed information that takes time to do. So in addition to running the fire department, we need to have the staff time to do it, and we don't have a lot of staff. So I have no problem with us trying to expedite it, but as our new city manager asked, I can't start the stuff until I get the information from Baker Tilly.
Thank you for that answer. And I would 100% support that. I think that it's probably important to look into some contractors, some consultants to help you do that, because us investing in that application process is going to benefit us in the long run. If not, I am very concerned about the amount of money that we are potentially losing if we continue to kick this can down the road, so to speak. So what I would propose is that we ask for you to get extra support from consultants, from contractors, whatever it is that you need to work closely with Ms. Stevenson and with, is it Baker Tilly? Is that his name? So that we can meet that deadline. And that would be my proposal. Anybody else want to chime in? Go ahead, City Manager.
So, Councilman, what is critical here is that we receive the information from our consultant. In a way, our hands are tied until Baker Tilly can submit the information, which right now, based on their timeline, it indicates that it would be somewhere in March, April. So I would like to ask Andy if you can confirm that in fact we will be able to get some level of analysis in March and April.
It'll be, our report will be completed in April. And I don't think it's gonna be in time to meet the LAFCO deadline. I don't think we were ever anticipating meeting, the LAFCO deadline for, certainly not a February deadline.
Yeah.
So,
If
Ms.
I- Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. So, Mr. Consultant, so again, Andy, so what I'm hearing is that we will have an analysis in April. So in April, we would be able to engage with you all on some substantive conversations. However,
Yeah.
we also have heard that that would miss the deadline with LAFCO. So I think what I'm gathering is there's nothing we staff can do without the data from the consultant, and Andy just indicated he'll have that for us in April. So it seems that by default, either a special election in 2027 or another cycle is what we're shooting for. What will be key here is to make sure that the data doesn't get too old. So we need to be on top of that because we're not spending money twice.
So I know when I spoke with Jennifer from LAFCO, we originally talked about starting to build out the application ahead of getting all the data, all the response back. So if we're trying to find a way, as we put it, to squish this together and get it going, there are data points, and I would have to work with her a little bit more, and maybe with Baker Tilly, to see which data points we need to try and do it. I think it is a lofty goal to try and do it. If we're trying to get that done, I would have to know specifically which data points I need to have compiled first for that application, to start that application. It was my understanding that I have to have the application, but the lengthy part of that, if I can get some of that data, the lengthy part, we might be able to try and push forward with starting the application. But if I'm not going to get the entire completed application or the entire completed report until after the drop dead final date, there's nothing I can do because I won't be able to complete that application on time.
Yeah, but back to the city manager's point, why are we going to do this twice? Why are we paying the consultant to even move forward with it if we're not going to meet the deadline? Why are we going to move forward? If the data is going to be old, we're going to have to potentially go out. I think we need to look at other solutions at this point.
And that is potentially policy decision for you. We have the schedule on page 16. And here, there's no way that we can have everything that we need for a March application. So either we push it or we begin now understanding that we'll have to update some data points. There shouldn't be so radical of a change between one year and another. So if we are shooting for 27, I'm comfortable. If we're shooting for 28, not as much. So policy decision for you. It's clear to me that your goal was to hit the November election. We just heard that even with a little wiggle room, we will not have the robust process that is necessary for this type of decision. So November would have been nice, doesn't seem like that's the case. So do we continue with the momentum that we have right now and shoot for 27? Do we pause and pick it up in 27 for a later date? That's the direction we need.
Yeah, so if I
Madam
can,
Chair?
if I can interject, so we have had several discussions about this. We knew about the crucial February date. We knew that we were that we were under the gun, and that it was going to be it was a very lofty goal to try to make that deadline for the November election. We knew that already, that it was going to be very, very difficult. But we did know about the February deadline. So we've had many conversations about this. I think the point that I was trying to make earlier, as I was agreeing with Supervisor Kosmicki, is that we knew this already. We made a decision earlier, or I should say later last year, to move forward with this simply because we keep talking about this, and we wanted to just get it moving, and we knew that there was likely going to be other things that could extend the process out. So even if we didn't make that very, very lofty goal of the November deadline, or the November election, that we would be well on our way to completing the process, which is a very lengthy, very complicated process that involves a lot of stakeholders, that we would be in a better situation. We would be more prepared to move forward with that process and have it join a special election or make another decision about an election date, maybe in a year or two. But to just stop the process again when we're already, I don't know, I think that the contract was finally approved to move forward. It was like October or September. To stop that work that's already been done and then start all over again, then we would have already, wasted resources as well as time. So then we just push forward, and then we just work through this process and wait for a special election or see what other opportunities arise as we're continuing to get prepared for the vote on the fire district. So that was kind of the point. But we were aware of this timeline and the crucial date in February to meet LAFCO goals. We knew that. I mean, LAFCO requirements, we knew that. Yeah.
Madam Chair?
Okay, Mr. Wade, I heard two voices, Ms. Fields, and then, okay,
It's
so go. Okay, but hold on a second, Mr. Fields. Let me recognize Andy. Is that you who was talking, or Colin? Supervisor Kosmicki, go ahead, and then Ms. Fields, Councilmember
Scott
Fields.
can go first if he wants. That's fine.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. We need to move forward with this. We need to continue the survey. We need to, the study. It's extensive. It's extremely extensive. We're talking about creating a fire district here in a county of, 70,000 people with 3 different agencies. It's not something you can do overnight. I've worked in fire districts. I know how complicated they could be. And we would have been done with this already, and it would have been ready for the November ballot if we didn't back out a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, when the county backed out on us. So this would have already been done. This is the second time around. I've been coming to this. I've been doing this for now 6 years, close to 6 years, I think, these meetings. And to just stop now you're just throwing a lot of money away. And San Juan's taken the lead. We've took the lead on it, and your staff isn't dealing with Baker Tilly on the lead. It's us. I'm sorry we have to update you with this. You haven't made any of the meetings. Unfortunately, nobody gave you any updates. So it feels like we keep starting from ground zero again, and it's becoming ridiculous. We need to continue. If we have a special election, we have a special election. But after we get all this data compiled, we're also going to have to market this.
We're not just drop this in their laps overnight without our public having any type of, explanation as to why we're doing this. We have to market it, and it's not that easy. So if we half-ass it, pardon my language, and ask Lavco to cut corners, and I'm not very comfortable with that because they do follow codes and laws, then we're going to lose. We won't have a chance. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember. Supervisor Kosmicki, go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, I honestly think that there's a little more tension here than I think is really necessary. This is going to take a while.
No, I mean,
to do
I
this.
think,
It's not
I think,
something-
so Supervisor Kosmicki, if I can just interject, I think we just all need to just, give our opinion and
Can I
then we'll
just make
just
my
move on. Yeah,
statements, please?
go ahead.
Wait,
Yeah.
why am I being stopped?
No, I'm not stopping you. I'm saying, go ahead. Just saying that everybody's just giving their opinion. It's fine. Just go ahead. Sorry that I
Okay,
interrupted you.
I'll give my opinion then. Okay,
Go ahead.
thank you. So yeah, I think there's more tension here than is necessary. This is going to take a while. This is a very complicated process that we're going to go through. I don't think it's the end of the world if we have to update the information that 6 months or a year after we've completed the study. I think at this point we have a couple options. We either stop what we're doing and restart it in a time frame that fits in line with the 2028 election. I have no interest in a special election, and I think if you are going to hope that the public gets, we don't even know if the public's going to support a fire district. It could be, one might argue it's a long shot to begin with. So we're going to have to look at multiple options no matter what we do here. And there's a lot of work that has to be done between now and 2028 when this would come to the public. If you try doing a special election, I can tell you right now, whatever negativity you have about new taxes and all this is going to be even worse if you try to do a special election and have to tell the public that we're going to spend another $250,000 or $500,000 on an election. So I have zero interest in a special election. So I don't think we don't want to rush this whole thing. We don't want to smush timeframes. It's way too important. And we're committed to doing this. We can't just back out now. We've done this back and forth. And I mean, everybody's got blame in this whole thing if we want to talk about that. And I don't think it's fair to point fingers at anybody because, this is all part of the circumstance that we've gone through here with this. It's been a very tense couple years. The San Juan Bautista and Hollister backed out of the consultant that we had on board a year and a half ago. So if we want to point fingers, we can point them right back at San Juan Bautista and the folks that were on the prior Hollister Council who backed out of the consultant that we had in place way back then. This is everybody's fault. And I think we need to just put all that behind us, start the process, plan for 2028, and let's just stop with the drama over the whole thing and get this thing done. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor Kosmicki. So for this particular item, we don't have a decision to make or an action item related to this. However, I think we can continue this conversation. But I do think that we will be getting an update of March or April, at least a progress report at our next meeting. Is that right, Chief, from Baker Tilly?
Yeah, and
Okay.
as he explained, he's going to be reaching out to everybody on this committee for input as well.
Okay. And so that's basically what the next steps would be for this. And then if at some point we choose to pivot, then we'd have to agendize that and make a decision that way. But for now, we're just, we know that we're not going to make that February deadline for LAFCO. So we know that that's something for us, another additional piece of information that we know, which I think we kind of all suspected that was a possibility or a likely possibility because it was a lofty goal. We knew that already coming forward. So let's just move forward. And then at some point, if we think we need to pivot, or do something different, then we can, we will just agendize that. So I think I'm going to just check in again to see if anybody has any last minute comments. But I think that's where we're at because we don't have really a decision or an action to take on this tonight. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go ahead, Supervisor Velasquez.
So-
Go ahead.
I want to make sure it's clear that I'm not saying we're stopping anything. That's not the point. The point I was making is, what is the plan now? If we can't make November, what are we doing? Special election? Not going to, Supervisor Kozmicki is right. It just will not pass in a special election because you're asking a small group of people to pay a higher tax, plus you're paying for the fees of putting on the election. It's a negative. It's not going to go. So if 28's going, how do we move this along to make sure we get everything out of it? That's my point. If we got to slow it down to make sure we do it right, well, now obviously we have that time rather than trying to push an aggressive schedule. Because it's going to take a lot of information, and it does take a lot of taking to the public and sell the benefits of trying to do it. So that's my point. Trying to stop? No, that's not what we're trying to do here. We have to keep moving forward. Just what's the reality now? What time frame do we need to do it right?
Okay.
And think of it as it's a 28 deal now. It's not a special election because I personally can't support that either because it's not going to go forward that way.
Okay. So I think that will be kind of the points of our conversation as we move forward and parts of our discussion and decisions that we'll have to make. So for now, we're just going to hold on until our next meeting. We'll get a report. We'll continue the conversation. I appreciate everybody's thoughts about this. I think this is part of the process of this process moving forward. And then ultimately, we have lots of decisions to make along the way. So we'll just continue that. But for today's meeting, we don't have any action to take on this. So I'm going to move us on to committee reports. 8.1, any committee members have any reports? Let's see, I'm not seeing any. Supervisor Kozmicki, anything from you? Okay, so
No, thank you.
no reports. And so I'm going to turn it over to the chief. Do you have anything to report?
Just two quick items. One, we finished 2025 with approximately 53 to 5,400 calls. So a slight increase from the previous year. Our records management program is up and running. We do have the information in there, although it's still kind of a little murky. So we've got the information to Baker Tilly from 2025, but bringing it over from one system to the other is kind of like what was in cell C5 now has to go into cell F2. So we're still working some of those details out. But for the call volume, it was between 5,300 and 5,400 calls. I don't have the breakdown specifically of where those were yet, but hopefully we're working through that. The other thing is, as we talked about last time, we were looking to expand our new apparatus. We did order by the end of the year. Hollister ordered a Type 1 fire engine. San Juan Bautista ordered a Type 1 fire engine. And then our long anticipated arrival of our truck is tentatively scheduled for around May, which is also when our brand new Type 3 that has not been put into service yet should be back from having the auxiliary pump put on it. So that should be adding that Type 3. And then our Type 6 engine that was hit by a Home Depot truck 2 years ago is also in May supposed to be coming back. So we're hopefully going to have the truck, the Type 3 engine, and the Type 6 engine May, June-ish, and then 2.5 years for the two new engines. And we'll continue to work. We discussed last time the fleet maintenance or the fleet replacement plan. We'll continue to work to bring our fleet up into better compliance. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you for that report. Okay, so now we're at 9 future agenda items. Any items that we want to put out there?
As you point out, just the reports, I like seeing the numbers, the hot spots, and understanding what the calls were, accidents, what we can do to help. So
I did look the hot spots for vehicle accidents, Highway 25 and 156. That was glaring red, but as I'm looking at those heat maps, and I was going to try and bring some today, but the data, again, is not 100% perfect in there. That's the only glaring thing out of the hotspots that have come up in the last
Okay.
few months.
So I guess we can look forward to that at next. Okay, so then we'll get that next. Okay. Any other things that we want to bring back? Okay, so then I think we're going to move to adjourn. So I don't think we need a motion for that. So I'm going to just adjourn. Meeting over.